Well, man, do we have some fun today for you here at the channel. Welcome everyone to another episode. Today we're gonna be checking out a really cool take on a really classic kind of profile of a soldier knife, a combat utility knife, whatever you would like to call it, in the Tops Knives Desert Nomad. Now we're gonna have a lot of fun in the sense of not only are we gonna do the average tasks that you would expect here, lots of, camp tasks, some survival tasks, batoning, chopping, feather stick making, but we're also gonna do some more urban or utility tasks in the sense of slashing. We're gonna do some stabbing tasks with some foam, kind of dummies, if you will, the best I can do in the sense of foam dummies, so we can get a good feel for some combat tasks as well with this knife that definitely has that profile of being that old classic, think K-bar, think Camillus, think World War II style of blade, but then again, taking it to a whole new level with a lot of very cool ideas and features that we'll take a look at, ins and outs, positives and negatives, and hopefully help you out on whether or not the Tops Knives Desert Nomad is gonna be a knife worth putting into one of your systems. So with that, let's get to it. All right, let's hit this blade for us here. Now we got a great clip point design, super classic design here, really strong and stout, but does give you that little bit of a swedge there just to help with the not only strength of the tip, but then the penetration as well. We got a good belly. Then we have an overall length from tip to the guard of 6.6 inches and then an actual cutting edge of 5.6 inches. Then as we go along here, we have that 0.2 thickness, so that's great, less than a quarter, over 3/16, perfect for the style of knife. Saber grind, so that's also a great plus. Now, I was a little concerned about the edge geometry. Is this going to be a good edge geometry, guys? I got to tell you, this came out of the box with one of the best factory edges I've seen in a while. They really did a great job grinding it in to really give me really nice fine cutting if need be, but still have enough toughness on that edge geometry so that it's not going to be flimsy and chip and break on me with harder use. So I love the edge geometry and just the relief edge they put on this blade. Now, one of the things I'm sure you'll notice is the 440C. They've gone with USA made 440C. I gotta tell you, I love that steel when it's done properly, usually from US companies. Sometimes some German companies will do it, but usually when it comes from a US company and they heat treat it right, and Tops has been using 440C for a while, it is a very tough, very good stainless steel. So they've done a Rockwell of 58 to 60, then they not only heat treated it, but then cryo treated it as well. And when you do that, you get not only a level of durability that you don't usually see on a lot of other stainless steels that you would be purchasing in this price range, but you're also getting so not only that toughness, but good edge retention as well, and then obviously great rust resistance compared to 1095, which is what Tops usually uses. So all those things come together to really make not only a very classic looking blade, but also has a lot of unique features that you wouldn't see on more iconic knives, like say from K-bar or Camillus, from like World War II or something like that, where this kind of takes its original thought from. So wanted to run in a previously reviewed Tops knife in this kind of combat utility vein, the Legion 6.0. Now, if you remember in that video, I really love this knife for that combat feel, for that soldier knife application. It just looks like that dagger, feel you can see even up against the Desert Nomad, which definitely is that still combat utility kind of design. It's still slimmer, has a much larger clip, more piercing in its overall design. Whereas the Desert Nomad, it has that wider blade, less aggressive tip, kind of a wider swedge there. Now, it does have a really good protruding guard that's really going to protect your hand well in a combat situation, but the Legion 6.0 is going to also have a lighter feeling in the hand. It weighs about 1.5 ounces less, and it's just going to be better at that stabbing and penetrating, whereas the Desert Nomad is going to be better for more of those survival type of tasks. It has more of a survival knife feel, whereas the Legion 6.0 has more of a combat knife feel. So hopefully that helps you guys out a little bit as you're determining between the two knives, if you are going to employ them more in kind of a soldier, maybe search and rescue, military role, which one would be better for you. Now, for those of you that have been following the channel for a while, you know I'm more of a Kydex kind of guy when it comes to sheath material, but I got to tell you, this is the most exciting leather sheath from a production company I think I've ever seen, and Tops is really getting it nailed down. We have US steer hide leather, which is fantastic. They always do a great job with their quality of their sheaths. We have great stitching all the way along. Comes with the tab down below with the paracord lashing to the leg. Now, what's great, what they have changed over some of their other leather designs, I'm thinking particularly like the Silent Hero, they've kind of learned from some of those designs and have made this so that when you pop the snap off, and this is a totally silent, it's not going to wobble around, the blade's not going to come out, but when you pop the snap, it's on the opposite side here, so when you pull the blade out, there's nothing for it to nick. The Silent Hero sheath had kind of that same design, but that kind of issue, the tab was down by the cutting edge, so when you remove the blade. Now, this is an ambidextrous sheath as well, so for you lefties, it'll fit absolutely the same, go over the guard, but as with the Silent Hero and what they have tried to design, at least for righties, is that when you do remove it for a lefty, you do have to be careful when you pull the blade out not to nick the blade along that leather strap right there. It can be easily done by just a little manipulation with your finger, but just be aware of that. It is ambidextrous. You'll just have to be careful, but I love that they went with the top for righty, so you're not going to nick it for a righty. The final piece of the puzzle, because that alone is just fantastic, and again, great quality leather, great drop leg feature, you know, so it's not going, a very strong snap as well, but the blade or the handle is flush with your belt, huge belt loop. But as you can see here, there's a little surprise. It does not come with a Blade Tech lock, but they put 6 holes punched through both sides here so that you can attach Blade Tech locks or Molly locks to your leather sheath. So it's easier, quick attachments to belts or Molly compatible PALS webbing gear, which is fantastic. And I would say one of the best, if not the best, leather production sheath I've ever seen. Price point. Let's go ahead and talk about that. That's always very important when you're laying down your hard-earned money. So what this is going for on average is about 150 bucks. The very cheapest I found it when it's in stock is over at knifeworks.com. I'll have a link in the description below. Amazon will also have links. Usually it's about $10 more, but there's usually more availability on Amazon. So it's right around in that price point of $150. And when we're looking at the nice leather sheath, not, you know, ballistic nylon or something cruddy like that, we're getting that 440C that is more difficult to work with. They're going to go through grinders and belts and that type of stuff a little bit faster. You add all that together with the design, I think that's really reasonable at right at $150. You know, if it was about $175 or more, that I would kind of shy away from, but at the $150 price point, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck and a lot of capability, and I think actually more capability than most other knives in this kind of combat utility design. So totally feel comfortable and totally dig in that price point of about 150 bucks. All right, handle time on the blade. And I really think that this will either make or break it for you with this design. Now, what we're looking at here is the full tang knife. Really like that aspect a lot. With the exposed tang all the way through, you got those red liners, then you got the G10 handle scales. Now, the handle scales from the guard to the end of the handle scales is 4 inches even, and then it is 4.75 to the end of the tang out the back there with that kind of glass breaker pry bar aspect. So 4 inches. It's a little bit on the short side for some of you out there. With my large size hands, as you guys know, I got plenty of real estate, and then, you know, we got still that finger choil that we can work with. But just take that into consideration. I got about 3/4 of an inch when I'm holding it right up against the guard there out the back. I would have liked to see that maybe around like 4.5 inches, just to give a little extra real estate with you guys with extra large size hands. Again, with my large size hands, no problem, and feels good in the sense of the length. Now, the thickness is going to be 0.7. So good thickness there. And then you got these, you know, traction points here, the bolts in. And now a lot of people were kind of curious. You know, they're like, man, that looks really blocky and really uncomfortable. That's exactly what I was thinking as well. And that was the one concern when I was looking into, you know, testing this knife out. But what I've found is that they did a really good job of rounding off all of these edges so that it doesn't feel like you're holding a brick. I don't really know how to describe it, but it feels really really, really, really solid in the hand and doesn't give me any hot spots when I'm holding it like this. And what we found with some of our other testing of other knives, particularly like the SOG Agency, which has a circular stacked leather handle, for combat knives where you're doing a lot of hand-to-hand and that's what's going to be expected, you don't want a really circular, extremely ergonomic handle, because what ends up happening is the blade begins to spin in your hand so that before you know it, the cutting edge is facing away from your opponent and not towards them in your slashing motion. That's what we've discovered with a lot of our testing over the years. So what this handle does is designed to lock you into place so that the blade is not going to spin in your hand if you're doing lots of slashing and stabbing. Now, along with that, they've given us this aluminum guard. Now, this guard is very durable, very tough. They've done a really good job of mounting that properly. It's facing forward, so it locks your hand into place. None of the edges are sharp on it. I like that aspect as well, so it's not uncomfortable when you're either reaching over it to engage the finger choil or you are just holding up against it in kind of a normal hammer grip style. But they've put 2 lanyard holes as well on top and bottom so that you can either use this as a spear and lash it to a pole, or as I've done here, and what you've seen sometimes with other tops knives like the Silent Hero, you can kind of make almost like a saber guard, you know, like an old school, you know, cavalry saber with your paracord. And that will not only give you the capability to do chopping tasks and the knife never wants to fly out of your hand, you can really lock it into place there. And even though the handle's straight off the back, you can really get some good wrist action and some good hacks with this knife, but also keeps it really locked into place for those combat tasks. You know, the knife can't be pulled out of your hand or anything like that, or it's easier to keep a good grip on the knife because of that lanyard system. So there is that capability as well. So then in conclusion, there is that finger choil so that you can choke up and do the finer tasks. So this is designed as basically in that kind of vein of an old school soldier combat knife, you know, kind of think of like a K-bar Marine knife from World War II, but with a lot of upgraded features, making it a lot more capable, not only as a military knife, because I believe make almost kind of like blocking out the handles a little bit more so they don't spin like those old K-bars do in your hand, but also giving us that really good finger choil. And they thought through the guards to bring them down so that I can easily reach over that. I got a good grip on the knife. It's not biting into my palm right here, and it's all rounded off. Good size finger choil. And now I can get really good carving tasks done, and it doesn't feel uncomfortable in my hand. Again, I was really concerned that it might, but Tops has done a really good job of just finding that really good balance of combat and survival. Well, folks, time for us to bring this video to a close and give you my final thoughts on the Desert Nomad. And after having used this knife extensively, as you can see here, that's something that we always pride ourselves here, trying to get as much hard testing as possible, get a really good feel for the knife over multiple experiences and excursions and, you know, treks, so I can really give you a really coherent thought process after a lot of use. And with the combination of the awesome design leather sheath, I love the 440C giving us a stainless steel knife in this kind of, you know, design and style, which is awesome. And just all the features, I love it. If you connect with that kind of old school style, but you're looking for some more premium design features and steels and those type of things, and you like that kind of full guard, you like that combat style of knife, I think this is going to be right up your alley. If you're more of like a classic bushcrafter, you know, maybe you're more of a kind of like a classic survival knife like an SE6, well then with the top guard and, you know, the kind of straight off the back handle may not really connect with you. Obviously that's up to you in trying to figure out whether or not, hey, does this fit inside one of my systems of use? Hope this video has pointed you in that direction so you can make that wise choice. As always, guys, thank you so much for checking out the channel. Please subscribe, comment, like, share this video. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. And as always, remember, stay equipped, stay prepared. We'll see you out there.